I'm the one handling the discussion mainly on starting us off on character awakenings, because that was the one I really wanted to tackle. I wanted to tackle in particular how, like, first off, I want to tackle, like, just comparing and contrasting, like, the elements of Persona 5's awakenings and the themes that are presented in the story to how they contrast compared to the previous Personas, Persona 3 and 4 in particular, because unfortunately I don't know too much about either 1 or 2. I wish I knew more, but unfortunately I don't. I know about the most recent modern Personas. But I want to start off by talking about Persona 3's awakenings, and we'll work our way back up to Persona 5. But in Persona 3, a big theme of that was death, and basically acceptance of your own mortality and the cycle of life and how it goes, and it manifests in the form of the evoker, which is how Cease awakens their personas, and how any persona user in Persona 3 awakens their personas, because the evoker is meant to be a symbol of death. It's meant to be, it's supposed to reference suicide, because you literally take the gun to your head and you shoot it, and that's how you activate your persona. And that's actually the reason why the protagonist of Persona 3 is able to activate it so easily, is because he doesn't fear death. He doesn't view it as scary. He's already accepted the fact that one day he will die, and it's easy for him to activate it. And that's why Yukari struggles to activate her persona initially, is because she is afraid of dying. She doesn't want to die. Even though she wants to protect everyone, she still has that fear that maybe her own life could be at risk, and that's just kind of how it goes with activating personas in Persona 3. Compare this to Persona 4, where Persona 4 is all about truth. It's about accepting the darkest parts of yourself that maybe you don't want to come to terms with. It's a major theme running throughout the course of the game. That's like all of the party members that you recruit, they're major bosses in the game, with their shadows being a manifestation of that. And that's why the shadows go berserk, because you're rejecting that part of yourself, and it's just further causing you more anguish and more pain. But when you accept that part of yourself, that awakens your persona, because you are your own person, and you have created this mask, this other self, to help you push through that hardship. You see it in characters like Kanji having to come to terms with his hobbies not being traditionally masculine, and him being criticized for him potentially being homosexual because of his habits. There's Naoto with her relationship with her gender, because the profession she wanted to go into is incredibly sexist, and they don't treat women the same way that they treat men in the police industry. And I'm losing my train of thought here, but you get what I'm trying to say. And then when you go to Persona 5, Persona 5's theme is about injustice. It's about individuality, and it's tearing off the mask that society has put on you. That's why the awakenings in Persona 5, that's why they all have a common theme of tearing off your mask. And for all of the Phantom Thieves awakenings, they all share that common theme, which is throwing away that mask and the pressure that society has placed on them, and they're just throwing caution to the wind and being like, I'm going to be my own self, I'm going to fight for what I believe in and stand up. Which is in the example of characters like Makoto, because Makoto has repeatedly had her morals tested, and she's had all this pressure placed on herself that she's had these expectations built up, and everybody's just sort of using her. And it's built her own sense of morale, and hasn't had the time to build her own sense of morality. But when she faces Kaneshiro, she finally realizes that, this isn't the justice that she wants to fight for. This isn't the justice that her father wanted to fight for. And that's her reclaiming that sense of justice. And that's why Johanna, her persona, says, please never lose sight of it again, because now she's found her sense of justice. With Futavas, it's also very similar, because she's been screwed over by basically every single adult in her life, because they had tricked her about her mother's death, and told her a lie, basically just being like, hey, your mother killed herself because of the fact that, you were such a burden to her studies, when that was never the case. And because she was fed these lies, she lost sight of her own truth. And when she comes to terms and faces her shadow, that's actually why she's not the boss of the palace, because that's why Wakaba is actually the boss of her palace, is because that's her facing the cognition and the trauma that she faced that was put upon by Shido and his lackeys, basically telling her that, you know, it was her fault that her mother died, when in fact, spoiler alert, it wasn't Futaba's fault that that Wakaba died. It was Akechi's fault that Wakaba died. Speaking of Akechi, his awakening is very, very different compared to the others, because he has the distinction of having two separate personas being exactly like the player character Joker. But why does he have two personas? Well, he has two personas because he has two separate appearances, and it was meant to give the illusion of what is the real you. And that's why when Akechi says, "I'll show you who I really am" during his boss fight, that is Akechi's authentic self. You know, that's why his costume looks the way he does, because it is just pure, unfiltered chaos just manifested into this character. And his two separate outfits are meant to symbolize his public image and his private image, and that's also why he has two personas, not just because of the wild card, but because of the symbolism of his character. The reason why he has this princely garb initially, when he is first introduced as Crow, and why he has Robin Hood, is because that is who he was built up to be. That is his public reputation that was built upon not just by him, but by Shido and the organization that they work with, to play with the whole conspiracy with the Aldebaels and stuff like that. But because he is the second coming of the detective prince, that's why he is viewed as this princely character, this idol. He holds himself in a very dignified way, and he views himself in high esteem. But when he becomes the Black Mask, which is his true form, it becomes more ghastly, more, the edges become more jagged, you know, and Loki becomes a trickster. It's sort of like, it's a manifestation of his deception and of his insanity, and his lust for revenge, and his anger, you know, like, this is the real Akechi. That's actually, and I think that's really cool, personally, because it's like, it's sort of like, you know, you have two masks. You have one that you use in public when you're around other people, and then you have the one that you use when you're just alone. But I don't know, that's just my take on the Awakenings and how it all fits together.
All right. Any comments on this?
Yeah,
Mark?
well, because the Awakenings, when they were making the game, I'm pretty sure they were thinking to themselves, how does it all match to whatever themes we're talking about? Mm-hmm. And especially with, like, you see it a lot more in these games, where whenever they deal with Awakenings, mm-hmm. it's a matter of how it fits to the theme. And yeah, Akechi does this, Futaba does this, Makoto does, they all basically do this. Mm-hmm. I don't really have anything else to add on to that point. Just trying to think what else fits, but so far nothing.
Briefly, I do want to say something about a few of the Awakenings. So I guess to just go out through the rest of them, On is just as a symbol of her beauty, is the panther costume, and why her persona is Carmen from, I believe, some Spanish opera. Who else do we get? We have, of course, my favorite, Yusuke, who is the fox, the symbol of Japanese art, the kitsune. And Goemon, a famous Japanese painter, is from mythology, is his persona. Very straightforward, but Joker is of course built up to be the wild card, the trickster. So that's why he is the Joker. He is the fool, which is Sawcloth. And that's why he's constantly referred to in the Love Room as trickster. So very basic. Again, Joker, not that much character to him, but more in the anime, but still just good kid. So anyone else? Any other kid? Haru.
Mm-hmm.
So Haru, at least in the anime, you don't see her actually have her awakening, but then she kind of has two awakenings, because she has her costume. You see her as Beauty Thief, you see her as Noir, but she doesn't call herself Noir until Milady gets awakened. And that is, of course, her facing, like, being able to, I guess, take on the fact that she is, take on the prim and properness, the beauty of her life, but not have it fettered with all of the corruption of her father. Because she intends to move on with her father's business, or at least something similar to that. Something nice and beautiful. How she says she likes to see, like, these soap operas and stuff, or Power Rangers stuff online. So that's why she's so theatrical. That's why when she comes out, she has this whole speech that she forgets all the lines to.
To add further on to Haru, the reason why Haru has her Phantom Thief outfit initially, and while she does have a persona, it's not awakened to its full potential yet, is because, yes, Haru doesn't agree with the actions of her father and knows about her father's corrupt nature with the way that he runs his business, but she's conflicted in the fact that that's still her father, and she still wants to try and have a good relationship with him. That's why she's very hesitant at first, because she just doesn't know what to do. Because she wants to rebel, she just doesn't have the full resolve in her to do so yet. And that moment where she finally awakens Melody to, you know, its full potential, that's her finally saying, you know, this is what I want. I can't deal with this anymore. I can't be a puppet to this anymore. I'm gonna stand up and be my own individual person.
And because this is not a royal discussion, we will ignore Kazumi until we actually talk about it.
And of course, we can't forget about
Kazumi fans.
Sorry, Kazumi fans, but we're gonna have a separate video on Royal when that comes out. And we can't forget about Ryuji. Ryuji's awakening is interesting in the fact that it's basically him just embracing the image he was given as a delinquent. You know, that's it. That's why Captain Kidd initially says in the awakening, you know, since you've already been disgraced, why not hoist the flag and wreak havoc? That's basically him just saying, you know what? I'm already seen as a delinquent. I'm already seen as some sort of, you know, gangster in the eyes of society, so you know what, might as well play into that.
It's basically just that, basically, like, if I'm going to be labeled a criminal, so be it. I'm going to be the criminal and be your villain, essentially.
I'm going to be the criminal. Yeah, I'm going to be the villain of your story, but who gives a crap, you know? I know what I want, I know who I am, and nobody and no one else's opinion matters. I think that's Yeah. And it's basically just them going, enough is enough. You know, I won't stand for this anymore. This has gone on for too long. The time has come.